Today, I decided to conquer my fear of speaking in videos, specifically because I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about with just finishing a painting. And I know for some artists, it could take them like a day or so to finish an art piece. While for me, this relatively small painting took me 2 months to complete. I felt really awful with my art journey being stagnant for a long time, to the point where I could have abandoned this painting and not look at it forever. But I'm grateful that I've decided to finish it despite what I was feeling. And in between the process of painting, I have experienced failures and even celebrated my small successes that probably no one would care about, but it's the highlight of my day for me. This painting is the second part of the Royal Ball series I'm creating. The first one is called Nostalgia, and it speaks about a girl named Delilah who's about to go to the ball, and all people at the ball are probably very, you know, dainty and delicate and sophisticated, and Delilah's the opposite of that. She's more of a free-spirited girl whose mindset is different from most of her peers. And we all know that back in the day, breaking conventional norms is very controversial. In royal balls, everything's about glamour and presenting your best self. Not that there's something wrong with that, but sometimes people become too invested in being pretentious just to be liked. This series is actually a reflection of today's reality, wherein in social media, everything's well curated. If you visit someone's profile, it feels like everyone's having perfect lives 24/7, but that actually isn't true. So the Royal Ball concept is the epitome of reality. All the vintage furniture pieces symbolizing grandeur and opulence will be contrasted by the raw, unpredictable behavior of nature. For nostalgia, it was the ocean and the vintage mirror, and for this second painting, it's the vintage teacup and Delilah presenting herself naked. What's more unpredictable than humans? I cannot think of a single thing. Humans are complex creatures. The only person who knows you're 100% you is yourself, not your family, your friends, or your partner. It's you. There's something bold about being naked, and I'm not talking about being naked for sexualization's sake. It's more about revealing parts of you. I think nakedness is one of the most sophisticated forms of showing vulnerability, and that itself is an act of courage. So part of the painting is where people gather in the banquet surrounded by the finest ceramics and the most elaborate decor there is, while Delilah, seated at the table, sees a projection of herself in one of the teacups. You know, all people are dressed appropriately, and wearing gowns for women is usually uncomfortable. And the irony is, people in that era wear conservative clothes to adhere to social norms. The type of clothes you also wear identify your social status in the community. You are mostly labeled based on how you dress. Her gesture, if you're going to observe as well, is contrary to how you should behave in a ball setting, where you should be prim and proper. This type of pose is how you pose at home, and you feel that sometimes, or I myself feel that sometimes, like zoning out. the second part of the painting, this is where I got really stuck and I kept on changing the background for a lot of times. In this part, I don't have any concrete idea what I like to do. I kept on experimenting, and for most of the time it didn't work out for me. The colors were contrasting and it's not just how I envision it to be. This is where I wanted to stop and start from scratch, but at the same time I was very lazy to repeat all over again. And I was also having a hard time to look for reference photos. Now I get why for some artists they take their own reference photos, and it's because you wanted to have a specific vision in mind, but you're very limited by your skills. So whenever I need to paint my idea on the canvas, I also need to consider proportions, colors, values, and everything in between. Despite myself struggling in this phase, I didn't give up. I no longer care if it would turn out great or not. I know I can always paint on top of the painted layer and be wild about it, and somehow that comforted me. So this is the last part of the painting, and after taking a few breaks, or actually like a lot of breaks, somehow I already know what I want to do. I want to add columns and make it look like she's outside in the garden. And I was also trying on how to use the glaze or glazing medium in acrylics. It eventually helped in making the colors pop, especially in the darker areas, and you can see here that I was freestyling parts of the painting and I was just trusting what my guts is telling me, which is if I ruin this painting, I don't care anymore, like I said before. And this is my favorite part, painting the plants and the roses, because you don't need to be very technical about it. Mother Nature is, well, natural, and you don't need to completely look at the reference photo and make it look like it's from the reference photo. At this point, I'm already feeling great about my painting, and it's weird that you feel something about your own creation. I guess it has something to do with, as an artist, we've been looking at our art for how many hours a day, sometimes 8 to 12 hours, and we've only focused on the things that need to be improved, but we never stop and appreciate what has already been done or what has already been finished. And sometimes you just need to pat yourself on the back and say to yourself that you did something good today. At the end of this painting, I didn't want to put any face to Delilah. Delilah can be anyone. It can be you, it can be me, it can be a friend or a stranger. Or maybe I was just very lazy to put a face on. But kidding aside, I just felt Delilah's better without having any face. And this is going to be the end of my second vlog. To anyone who stayed until the end, well, thank you. I don't know if someone will listen to this, but I'm also looking forward to the last painting of this series. I think that's going to be my most favorite one, and I can't wait to paint more paintings in the future.